Welcome to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast, the show for women who are seeking more fulfillment in life and simply not getting it from their current situation. We focus specifically on careers, but hey, we spend a lot of time in our careers, so making changes here will definitely create an impact in your overall happiness. I'm your host, Simone Morris, and my mission is to empower women to succeed. I believe that in order to powerfully own your career, you must decide and claim that you want to sit in the driver's seat. You must know that you deserve better and be willing to not only do the requisite work, but be willing to go out on a limb to ensure your success. Each episode focuses on profiling a leader who is clearly demonstrating ownership of their career. Join me and my guests as we explore career journeys and bring you actionable strategies to use to get into the driver's seat for your career. Because ultimately, your career is your responsibility. Let's get into the show. Hi, this is Simone Morris of the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. Thank you so much for continuing to listen to the podcast. It has certainly been a season of so much change from a COVID-19 standpoint, as well as from a racial equity standpoint. Much has been going on, so much so that our careers can, in fact, take a back seat. Our job is to make sure that our careers don't take a back seat and stay in the passenger status for too long. There are many things that you can do to advance your career, even during this time. This is a time that's calling for pivots that lots of innovation can come forward from. You will be surprised at the relationships that you're able to make during this time, at the innovative ideas that are coming to you, and that you can collaborate with others to deliver new products for your organization or for your business, whatever it is you're doing. So I want you to stay positive and to continue to listen to the podcast, take notes on what you can do to advance your career, but make sure that you keep the focus on your career, even though it might be difficult to do so during this time. This week's guest is Aditya Guthey, and he is in the driver's seat for his career. I think you'll find his interview heartwarming to listen to as he talks about the decision to exit corporate America from the engineering space and what he's doing with his time and how he really decided to bet on himself. Enjoy this week's episode of the podcast. And as always, I welcome hearing your feedback about the podcast. You can join us in the group on LinkedIn, the Power of Owning Your Career group that is on LinkedIn, and that is where we have after the podcast interview conversations. I would welcome you there. The other thing I want to tell you is that I've got a new commercial for my business, so you may be hearing that in this episode or the next one because I'm super proud of how it came out, but listen up for this Simone Morris Enterprises commercial. And again, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Do enjoy this week's episode. Welcome to this week's episode of the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. I hope everybody is having a wonderful, wonderful week. I am so excited. I think you guys know I get excited at every podcast episode, but nonetheless, I'm super excited to have with me today Aditya Guthey. I hope I said that right, Addy, but you will correct me if I didn't. I want to welcome him to the podcast because I've known him for a long time, and I've seen him grow so much, and it occurred to me that he's in the driver's seat, and you'll know why very shortly. So I want to welcome my friend and coach and engineer and so much more to the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Simone. It's an honor to be on your podcast.
Awesome. Well, tell our guests a little bit about your background.
Sure. I've been an engineer for about 9 years. That's the only thing I have known for a long time. And 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, I've joined Toastmasters, and that's when I met Simone Morris. And just watching her speak is a huge inspiration for me. I'm like, I mean, for me, there are people in my mind that I have registered where I see them and I want to be like them. And Simone Morris was one of them. And I remember, Simone, you were doing your district championship speech at that time, and I went to the district conference just to see Simone speak at the conference, because I saw her speak at our club and I wanted to see her speak at the district conference. But anyways, I loved Toastmasters. I fell in love with it. I love the community of people. There are many amazing people I've met through my journey at Toastmasters. I even met my wife at Toastmasters and proposed her at Toastmasters, as you know, by doing a speech. And really, that's one of the highlights of my life, which is meeting my wife, and things started to shift after that. She introduced me to coaching, and I was able to, get a lot of breakthroughs through coaching and accomplish my interpersonal goals and being confident, and several goals I've created. I'm like, this is amazing. The goals that I wasn't able to accomplish for a long time, I was able to accomplish, and I had a coach. And I'm like, this is something I wanted to be able to do for others. And if I have to, people talk about living your legend. When I thought about it, living my legend meant making an impact. At that moment, I thought I can make more impact helping others accomplish their goals than through software engineering. I love software engineering, but I loved coaching more, helping others more, because I could see the impact directly. So that's when I continued on my journey to pursue a coaching and a speaking career. So now in September 2019, I left my full-time job, trying to own my career and be in that driver's seat. And I'm doing that full-time now, and I love every day of it while I do it. Not right now, because there's coronavirus, there's so much stress, but before coronavirus, I loved every minute of it.
I think that's awesome. And what I want to do on this show is show a variety of guests and talk to them about just that journey to the driver's seat. So Adi, you made the decision to leave corporate America and do your own thing. Tell us about the preparation and what was going through your mind as you prepared to exit, and what was the moment that you really knew that you were in the driver's seat for your career?
The first few years of my engineering career, they felt great. I'm learning things, new challenges, solving problems, loved everything. But soon I started to feel some sense of dissatisfaction. I think more than logic, sometimes your feelings tell you, and often we don't notice that feelings. Like if there is some frustration, there is something that your body and your feelings are telling you. I noticed that there's some sense of frustration, and I've done everything I can being an engineer to see if I can feel fulfilled in whatever I'm doing, even though I have taken some major steps, like, learn new technologies, took on some leadership roles at work, but everything did not feel like I did not have this feeling of satisfaction that I'm living my life at my best. I couldn't say that yet. So, through having a coach, I was able to understand my feelings more. And at that moment of time, like I was sharing in my introduction, something about coaching and helping others and speaking is also like, people experience transformation. That was giving me more fulfillment than anything else that I've ever done before. So that's when I decided I've created goals. And Simone, you talk about goals a lot. I've been to one of your sessions where you spoke about the importance of goal setting, and you brought in a panel of experts. Events like those, attending events like those, I just kept developing clarity through having a coach for myself, and also being with people who are already in the driver's seat by attending different events. And Simone Morris hosts some series of events to exactly help people like me to be in the driver's seat. So again, I got the message straight and clear that this is what I want to pursue. I want to pursue speaking and coaching. And I created goals to be able to do that. And I set a deadline, September 2019, that's my deadline. And I have taken actions to be able to develop a business plan for my new business, and followed my passion. Jumped into the sea of uncertainty at that point of time.
Absolutely. You're often traveling the world. Talk to us about how you made the decision to embrace risk and to step out on faith and go after your dreams.
Yeah. So the risk, of course, I have risk, but there is it's not a complete uncertainty, because I had savings and other things, but of course I'm losing the certainty of having a steady job. So people say it's calculated risk. To me, it is also calculated risk. And oftentimes it's about exploring fears that are not real, because many times many people on this planet have the opportunity to follow their dreams and passion, but it is false fears that often stop them from being in their driver's seat. For me, the false fears were, what if I never get a job again? What if I will be completely broke for the rest of my life? Those are the fears. I mean, what will others think of me if I leave my job? What will my parents and everyone think of me if I'm leaving a steady, well-paid engineering job at a really good company? These are all the fears that are not true. And as I explored them, I think that's when the real risks, I was able to evaluate what the real risks are versus the false risks are. And actually, I'm not risking it. What came out of my whole experience is it's important that you evaluate whether the fears you're having, which is stopping you from being in your driver's seat, are true or not true.
Great. So talk to us about the planning process, how you went about planning to travel the world and embrace your dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you're doing something like this, where especially growing your own business, there are no set directions. Like, you can't say, if I do 1, 2, 3, you will be super successful. I mean, no one can say that. If someone is saying that, probably it's not true, right? Everyone has their own path, and you have to figure it out. But that's the most exciting path you can ever take. So as far as the planning goes, first thing I did was to surround myself with people like Simone. So I asked people like Simone if they can be my mentors, because they have, you have been through this path. So and based on that, what I really got is having a sense of community where I can share my struggles, which I had, and it's really like creating some long-term goals for the year, but more importantly, being flexible. I was not planning far too ahead. I was just doing it a month by month, being flexible in shifting my goals based on how the situation is. I decided that, I did a lot of speaking during my time in India. At that time, that was one of the things I always wanted to do. Again, creating plans, setting intentions to be able to do that was one of the things, because there are so many distractions after I went to India. There's marriage, there's this, there's people I want to see, but because I set an intention and made a plan that I want to speak, I was going after that. And again, it just nourished my soul in so many ways because that's where I'm from, and I want to be able to speak, and that's something one of my dreams. And when I saw the reaction from the audience, I'm like, this is my definition of success. So yeah, that's how it went.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm from Jamaica, and one of my dreams is to go back to Jamaica and speak. So it warms my heart to say how validated you felt by speaking in India and just getting the signal that this is what you were meant to do. I love that so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Simon.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So let's get right to the formula for owning your career. With your experience in corporate America, you've been in different companies being an engineer, and you're now out of that environment, doing your own thing as an entrepreneur, coach, and speaker. What would you say your formula is for owning your career?
Yeah, I wish there's a simple formula, like E is equal to MC squared. Engineers will love it. This is the formula. But on a general basis, it's going to differ by person. Sure. Everyone has their own unique challenges, but on a general basis, I think the first and foremost thing is to discover who you are. I think you have to know yourself. What are the things that excite you? And again, every moment teaches you something about yourself. Like for me, it's being with Toastmasters and seeing speakers like Timon and many others. Those are the things that have always inspired me, and I've never paid attention to it. I thought, okay, just like any other movie, but it's really understanding what you really enjoy and knowing what excites you, what can keep you going. That's the number one thing that I believe is absolutely important to achieving your peak success, or in your words, being in the driver's seat. But the second thing, which is more important than that, is many people might know who they are and what they really want. They don't create plans, they don't create goals, and you're huge on that, Simone. And anytime I attend your seminars or talks, it's a knock on my head. Go do your goals, because your heart might be telling you something, but if you don't have goals, you can't realize them. They will be just dreams. And yeah, absolutely. So those are the two main things that is coming to my mind.
Yeah, I love what you're saying about knowing who you are. I just interviewed someone a couple of days ago, and she was talking about knowing the good, bad, and ugly about yourself. And it's so true to really know who you are. And then the comment about goals, I'm all about goals and ensuring that you set goals as well as you take the consistent action to back up the goals and to realize the goals. So absolutely. What resources have you found to support you on the journey of owning your career, online or otherwise? What have you found helpful?
I think for me, the first, I think if I look back at my entire career, it started with Toastmasters, having a community. That's the number one resource, is having a community, because that's when you can get different perspectives, and you will understand the world in a different way. It started with me for Toastmasters, and then I have invested in many personal development programs. IPEC is one of them. And there are many other programs I've invested in, like NSA. Your event, Simone, that you have for employees to help them be in the driver's seat. I think attending events like these, where you can shift your perspectives, where you can be among the people who are already owned their career, and you learn about goals, you learn about discovering who you are, and every event provides you something. And there is a certain energy in such events. So I think if I have to recommend just one thing, I mean, I can give people a laundry list of things, but if I can give one valuable thing, it's finding such events and investing in such events is totally a great opportunity to start owning your career and taking some action to realize your full potential.
Absolutely. I tell people that you have to bet on yourself, and you have to be willing to invest in yourself. You cannot expect companies to invest in yourself when you won't make the investment in yourself. So you really have to make the investment. And I love that you're talking about Toastmasters, because for me, Toastmasters was a game changer in my life as well. I was in Toastmasters for 10 years, and I write about in my book that I had to do a presentation. I have an IT background, and I had to do this presentation, and I just stepped all over my words. And I was horrified. I was so embarrassed. And I said, I have to do something about this. So I went to Toastmasters, and it changed my life, because it introduced me to something that I didn't know that I would really enjoy speaking as much as I do, but Toastmasters was the start of that journey. And like you're saying, I met people there like Jeremy Donovan, and I can't remember James's last name right now, Melanie Zuka, but I met these people they just poured into me in my growth, and I started blooming. And so I remember when I first saw you in Toastmasters, I was like, this kid is going places. I know it. You were so shy. Look at you now. This is just an amazing organization. I really think highly of it as well.
Absolutely, it is. It is. Yeah, it is. And any such organizations which brings people together, I think.
Yeah. So are there any books that you can think of that have been impactful to you?
I'm not big on reading books, but it's I kind of read like 10 pages and then jump onto a different book. But I think books have definitely influenced me a lot. If I have to remember some of the books, are the classic books like 7 Habits of Highly Influential People. I remember, Simone, when we were in Toastmasters, I think you were in the leadership role and you're presenting these books as a gift for someone who wins certain speech contest, if I remember it correctly. Did I recall it correctly?
I think so. It's been a long time since I've been in Toastmasters, but I love the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. It's a classic book.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and the Habit of Now, that's another book, The 4 Agreements.
That's one of my favorites as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think it always helps to get different perspectives. And if you resonate with something, that means it's an opportunity for you to get deeper into that specific area. For me, I've recently started enjoying the spiritual books. Since I've started getting into coaching, I'm like, there is some higher power within each of us. I'm starting to realize that. So those have been catching my attention these days.
Awesome. So can you think, as we begin to wrap up, I'll ask you a final question. Can you think about a time in your career where you were sort of hands off? I call that the passenger, where you allowed other people to call the shots for your career, and take us to that time and tell us how you overcame being the passenger.
Yeah, I think so. It's probably at my work as an engineer, there were times when I noticed there's a sense of dissatisfaction in what I was doing, because things that have excited me in the past were not exciting to me anymore at that point of time. So I was like, and I didn't do anything about it because of all the fears. Like, would I get if I ask for something different to my manager, would he be okay with it? maybe he will fire me. I don't want to ask anything. I don't want to take any actions. So instead, I will just do whatever I was asked to do, even though that is something I don't want to do, was my mindset at that time. Because of that, what happened was I was making a lot of mistakes at work. I was like, there were bugs in the software I was writing. It wasn't very good. It wasn't a very good time at all because it was a lot of stress. I'm like, why am I making all these mistakes? That's because, but then that was the result of it. People around me were unhappy about my work. I was unhappy with myself. Those were the stressful moments. And the way I have addressed it is by first realizing that the work that was exciting to me in my past is not exciting to me anymore. And that's totally fine. It is okay to feel that the work is not exciting for you anymore. That's when I thought about what excites me instead. And I asked my manager. I decided I'll ask my manager. I told him straight up that, even though I have loved what I was doing a couple of years ago, it is not exciting me anymore. And because of which I'm making a lot of mistakes. I feel bad for all of the mess I've created with one of the bug I created in the software. So he was very understanding at that time. I mean, what I feared the most is something he acknowledged, that he also goes through the same situation and that it is very normal. He validated me. And that's when we explored opportunities on how I can work on projects that interested me. And for the first time in my entire career, I have asked for something I wanted and I got it. And I felt my excitement come back again, 100%, with the new technology that he gave me an opportunity to work on, and which I felt a lot of satisfaction from. So yeah, the lesson I learned from it is it's completely normal to not be in your driver's seat and feel a sense of dissatisfaction at that time. Just find out what else might excite you at that point of time and be bold in chasing them, whether it is asking a question to your manager or starting something on your own. Make those goals, and just take actions towards those goals.
Awesome. Well, please tell our listeners how they can stay connected with you if they would like to.
If they would like to stay, there is a website, uncoveryourrockstar.com, where I send you free content on uncovering your peak performance as an engineer. So if you're an engineer, my articles are geared towards engineers. So if you're interested in how you can uncover your peak performance and overcome some of the challenges that you might be facing as an engineer, just go to uncoveryourrockstar.com and sign up for the newsletter, and you will be receiving some tips every week on how you can tap into your peak performance.
Wonderful. Well, Adi, thank you so much for sharing your story on the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. It's been my pleasure to share your story with our audience. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, Simone. It's been a total pleasure to be on a show with my hero, Simone Morris. You were my hero when I first started off in Toastmasters. It is a total honor to be here on this show with you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Simone Morris Enterprises, LLC is a certified minority women-owned business specializing in inclusive leadership solutions and career growth education. The company has a mission to revolutionize the role of organizations in building inclusive muscles for all their employees. The company also provides education to accelerate and amplify the careers of women in the organization. For more information, visit www.simonemorrisenterprises.org. That's www.simonemorrisenterprises.org. www.simonemorrisenterprises.org.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. It is my hope that you enjoyed today's episode. You can check out the show notes for this episode on the SimoneMorrisEnterprises.org website by clicking the podcast menu. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and tell a friend or two about it.